Welcome to the Josh Huisman Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 58 of the podcast. I am Josh Huisman. They said we'd never make it this far, and I don't know who they is, but somebody must have said it. But we have made it to 58 episodes, which means we're like past a year, and I can't even believe it. And,
awesome.
And today I am super excited because I got some friends here who are from out of town. They're from the Chicago area. They are known as the DeGraffs, and a band that has started putting out music. And I'm so excited for a lot of you because I'm going to introduce you to them and their music. And you need to go and check them out, and we're going to talk a whole lot about it. So let me do the introduction this way. I have on my right Curt DeGraff.
Yes.
I have across from me Katie DeGraff, and I have Gracyn DeGraff. They are known as the DeGraffs. So welcome, guys. How are you doing?
Very good.
We're doing great.
Great to be here.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's really cool to have you here. Not too long ago, in fact, about a year ago, I started noticing on your social media page, Katie, that the family was putting out music, and that was really exciting, and went and checked out the first song, which we're going to talk about all this stuff, but the first song, Be Like You, and there's nothing that can beat family harmony.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
You know?
There's something special about it for
There
sure.
is. There's something special about, the voices are different, but they all come from, Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was such a cool thing. But let's start off with this. I said you guys are from the Chicago area.
Yeah.
And we don't have to spend too much time on this, but I've known Curt for
A long time.
a long time, okay?
I don't know if we're going to give ages here, but it's pretty much that long.
It is pretty much that long. Curt is in the town that I grew up in, the wedding singer.
Yeah.
And
true.
that he was the guy who
No
like,
shame.
hey, is Curt going to sing at your wedding? And so you were at many of those things. So I always knew you were a singer.
Turned into that, yeah.
It did. In fact, there was even a project you and I worked on together
Yeah,
at
probably
one
around
point.
2005-ish.
2005-ish, before I moved here to Nashville.
Yeah.
That you had a CD that you had put out and doing music. And so I know his background as a singer. And
Yeah.
then how about you guys, Katie, because you have an extensive music background. So how did you two meet and get the music connection started?
Well, after college, I went to Greenville University. Curt went to Trinity College. And I came back to where I was from. And I was like floundering, okay, what am I going to do? So then I ended up being a worship leader at two different churches at one time. So on the weekends, I was at Grace Church in Lansing, Illinois. And then for the Catalyst 18 to 30s ministry, I was the worship leader on Thursday nights at Faith Church in Dyer, Indiana. And Curt came, to an event. You were dating someone else.
I was heavily involved in my church and dating someone else at the time. And basically a year after that relationship ended, you had called me because you were involved with this new ministry, and you were just kind of curious what I had going on in life.
And I wanted to recruit you as a vocalist for the worship.
Yep.
And so we ended up just talking, and after rehearsals a little bit, and then we ended up, I think we went to Calumet Bakery in Lansing one Sunday afternoon, and we talked for like 3 hours. And so that's how it was very short. We dated for like 4 or 5 months, got engaged, and then we were married a year later.
Yeah.
Calumet Bakery will do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those smiley face cookies.
We're
they're-
both dessert
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, so, okay, did you join the worship band?
So, yeah, I think there's probably more you should add to that, too. Katie, she had made a vow to never come back to this area again.
Well, I didn't necessarily want to...
Which area?
Where we grew up.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
the Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area. So I just, thought maybe I'd get a job somewhere else.
Okay.
Love my family, but thought I'd, branch out. And then I met Curt, and that changed everything. But also just God landed me at the two churches that we were, and you were also involved at your own church.
Yeah.
In South Holland. And so we were like literally a part of 3 different churches at once when we first got married.
Yep.
So that was
We had
challenging.
to figure some things out.
Yeah, but good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
Highly sought after.
Well, just
Right.
rooted and networked there.
So the joke is Katie got back to the area she originated from, right? And so she was going to get away, and then she ended up coming back, and we fell in love. It happened pretty quick, and we just, again, were rooted in the area that we both grew up in, which is fun in and of itself. But we were very plugged into a lot of different things, so we had to figure that out pretty quick. Like, how do we hone this in? Like, how do we stay focused in one church, two churches maybe, and just figure this out from the get-go. And so, the main ministry that we were involved with at the time was the young adult ministry. And that's where we had some pretty fun, exciting times, memorable times, and from there things grew, and we found our lane and moved forward.
Gracyn, have you ever heard this story before? Did they ever talk to you about how they met and how they sang worship and do all these things?
No, I don't think that I ever heard, but I don't.
Oh, wow.
But I do think I heard before that you met at church, but that wasn't.
Yeah.
You did?
Yes.
Or didn't?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. So, there might be some things that come along as we talk. You're like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Something new about my parents.
Yes, that's kind of a fun thing. You guys be like, should we tell her that? But all right, so what's really interesting? So I was looking, Katie, into your background musically, and obviously, when did you've put out multiple projects over the years as Katie Kaptein?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And when did music and specifically songwriting become a passion of yours? Like, when did you realize, oh, this is something I really enjoy doing? Because there's one thing to be a worship leader, which is primarily, if you really boil it down, you're playing other people's songs.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
To, I really want to create my own. When did you first have that?
Yes, I started leading worship in the youth group in like junior high. It was great to have that opportunity. But then when I was 15, I remember one of my closest friends at the time, Kara, she brought me a poem that she had written, and it was called The Sunflower Song. And I had this challenge to put music to it, and I did, and that was the first song I guess I ever wrote. And from there it just, I don't know, it just spiraled. Like I just kind of fell in love with songwriting. And so then, like most songwriters, it started out really simple and basic. But as I went through high school, so I formed like a band late high school, and we would sing at coffee shops, and such good memories of that. I mean, I listen back to the music and, those early songs and I cringe like most songwriters probably, but it was a starting point, and it was start of something really special, and ongoing in my life, and a calling, I guess, really. So, yeah. And then it really started to become more of a craft. Like, I really wanted to make it better and get better and grow. And that's when I knew, okay, this isn't just like some side hobby for me. I really love doing this. So, yeah.
As you were talking, I was thinking, I wonder, as I asked that question, what was the first thing I ever wrote? Or, when did I get passionate about it?
Yeah.
And I took a song from, remember Jeff Moore in the Distance?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I took a song from them. I can't remember the name of it, but I had a girlfriend at the time, and I was like, I write songs. I had like written poems. I had written poems before, but never a song.
Yeah.
And I took a Jeff Moore in the Distance song, and I wrote my own words to it, and like made it almost
to that melody.
Yes, to that melody, and then sang it to her, and she's like, oh, that's so pretty. I was like, well, thank you. I stole it completely.
Half stole it.
Half stole it. But that like made me realize, wait a minute, that might not be as hard as I thought for me. Like maybe I was wired for that, know, and then just kind of began building that process and learned guitar and a couple chords here and there. And,
it's a total process.
Yeah. Sorry, we could go down this songwriting bubble, you guys. You guys would be like, we're here. But I love talking songwriting. So, how does that work for you? Do you hear melody first? Do you hear words first? What is that? And if you guys write too, jump in. Okay.
I've dabbled in it, but Katie is I'm learning from her.
Yeah.
She's the experienced
I
one.
have hopes that we will collaborate more
Yeah.
as time goes on. But yeah, it's different for me every time, and it always has been. Like, piano's my main instrument. I'm most trained in piano. I also play guitar, but that's like, you just kind of learn from piano and you use it for what you want to use it for. But I would never classify myself as like a great guitarist or anything. But anyway, so I would sit down at the piano, and I was more of an indoor kid. So, I would just mess around, and then like all of a sudden something would come, whether it was a chord progression or whatever. And then I think that's probably how it started out, was like I would just be playing around on the piano, and then I would write lyrics with that. It was always faith-based for me to begin with. Definitely an overflow of just my walk with the Lord. And then I would say as time went on and as I grew in the craft a little bit more, I would try different things, or like maybe it was a lyric idea from a sermon I heard or a book I was reading, or, and I would just start jotting things down. So it definitely is always different.
Yeah.
But
So you were similar to me in the fact that you were not a good church congregant, because you would be writing. I used to write song lyrics on the program of the church while the preacher was preaching.
I usually know something's coming when Katie's taking a lot of notes in church, because
When
I
I
know
grab my
I know
phone
there's
and I'm
sermon
like,
notes, but I
yeah.
also know what's going through her head. I know, like, hey, this is going to turn into something. I just know it.
yeah, pocket it for later.
Yeah, I used to do it all the time, but then they made me the preacher because they knew I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't get to do it that much anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I know I'm boring enough
You
as a preacher.
now you inspire other people.
Exactly.
Oh, that's the hope, at least, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, you put out several projects as Katie Captine. In fact, we've even done one of your songs here at the church at Christmas.
Really?
We did. Oh my goodness.
I mean, there's 7 of them. Yeah. Wintergreen.
This Christmas.
This Christmas.
Yes.
Yes, we did
Yeah.
that 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh,
I
fun.
think, yeah, it was
Okay.
it was a lot of fun.
That makes
So,
me happy.
did you get any royalties from it?
Not a dime.
We made a ton of money on that one.
Definitely don't do
Yeah.
this for the money.
No, this Christmas, and that album was called A Different Kind of King,
Yeah.
right? That came
Yeah.
out in 2016.
Yep.
I highly recommend it for Christmas songs. When it comes out, Christmas is coming. It's not that
Yes.
far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can check that out under Katie Captine. But then you also had these other, A Light is Dawn. Was The Light is Dawn the first one you put out
Yeah,
in 2009?
that was kind of as we started dating. And
You're
I
doing
was
the photo shoot.
Yep, and I worked with a guy who was in Chicago. Well, no, I take it back. He was in Nashville at the time, but a mutual friend, and so he did that. I recorded some of it here in Nashville, and then so that was my first, I would say,
Wait, what was his name?
Jonathan Smith.
Do you know that I've recorded with Jonathan Smith?
There's several Jonathan Smiths, though.
The Jonathan Smith, drummer, producer, right?
Jonathan Smith from Luna Halo.
Yes.
Yes. Same
Yes.
guy?
Yes.
Wow.
Same exact guy.
Crazy.
Isn't that weird?
Yes.
Yes. So I recorded 3 songs with Jonathan. He's out in California
Yes.
now.
He is. Crazy.
But yeah, this weird small
Yeah.
world, Jonathan
It's so
Smith
crazy.
cornered the market on Chicago people.
He did. He kind of
totally
he
did.
found some of the main
Yeah.
ones out there.
Yeah. No, he was great to work with.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. And he definitely had more creative direction on that. So I kind of the luxury of just showing up and singing, and in fact I don't even think I played instruments on that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was
Yeah.
good.
That was that's the way he did it at the time. I don't know
Yep.
how he does it now, but
Yeah.
but definitely for sure. So, all right, you guys, let me ask you this question, and this is going to lead Gracyn to your involvement in the group, but let me ask you this question. So you guys meet, you get married, yada, 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 all that fun stuff. All right, was it always in the plan that you guys were going to start singing together, or because you got your music thing that you've already kind of done, you've almost established a little bit of a brand and a direction you're going? How did you guys begin?
Things really started evolving with just as we were dating, got married. There were several years before we had children, but throughout that time, you had done the My Highest Joy album as well.
It was 2012.
2012.
Yep.
the different kind of King. I know Faith Church as well had a Hope album in there. So there's different recordings where things, I mean, there's different focuses at different times, but the music ministry that Katie and I were involved with together never stopped.
We were mostly like leading worship together.
And
you were a strong support on like those individual projects that I did. You sang on A Different Kind of King.
Yeah, and my mentality was more, I wanted to be a support because this was Katie's thing, right? Like I've dabbled in music my whole life and did the album with you back in 2005. But I was never like wholeheartedly, I'm going to be an artist. This is going to be my thing. I always enjoyed doing it, but I made it clear to Katie that I want to be a support to her. You know, this is something that you've been after for a long time, and it would be really cool to kind of support you and maybe do stuff together every now and then. But through our church worship leading, that is what really got us involved with more and more things together. And then things just naturally progressed in that direction. And then, we had children, and Gracyn came along. She's our firstborn.
Yeah,
and
first of three.
First of three children. Yeah. And she, from early on, she had the music in her, like from Little Mermaid videos super vocal. She's very passionate. But yeah, we have a lot of fun videos and memories with her as a baby, an infant, growing up. And then, one day we were in the car driving. I don't know where we were going, but she always sang with us. But it was probably 3 years ago or so where all of a sudden, like, we were hearing harmonies in the back seat.
She's working it out.
She was working it out to the radio. But it wasn't just like your typical, like, working it out. I mean, she was figuring it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so Katie and I were looking at each other, smiling, because, of course, it's our daughter. It's sweet. But we're thinking to ourselves, we were both thinking this, like, she has potential to, like, sing with us.
Yeah.
You know, so let's maybe explore that. And so, yeah.
So, Gracyn, was it a case where obviously you like singing in the car, but you see your mom and dad singing all the time? Was it just something that you saw them and you go, oh, I can do it? Or how did it kind of start in you, the whole singing thing?
Yeah, I just naturally loved music, and I felt the need, and like I would not stop singing in the car if I got into a song.
Or anywhere.
Yeah.
My friends almost mock me and saying I sing too much. And so
Join the club, sweetie.
I'm just like, well, yeah, I love music. And I was admired by my mom and dad also singing.
Yeah. So I was listening to a podcast last night, a guy, a singer, and he was being interviewed, and they said, you know, when you were young, did you know he goes, I just loved singing. He said, it's not even that I'm a great singer. It's just that I would be in the car with my parents. He goes, and I would sing. Like, they wanted to talk, and I would just sing whatever was on the radio. Yep. And he said they would finally look at me and say, will you please stop? He goes, so I would roll down the window, and I would sing out the window so that they didn't have to listen to me sing. You know, and I was like, that's pretty hilarious, you know, how that works, you know. And I think... for me too, even singing, my parents being worship leaders and saw them sing all the time, and people have said to me before, you know, you're pretty comfortable on stage or whatever it may be, and it was really more, I think, fear of that comes from when you're not in proximity to someone who does it.
Correct.
So you think it's something to be afraid of, but when you're in a world where your friends are doing it, your parents are doing it, people you hang around are doing it, it just feels. Well, I can do that too, you know? Yeah.
That's what we realized with her. There was a natural, authentic platform that was there for her. You know, Katie was involved with music. You were, I was growing up. And all three of us had different platforms of like how we were introduced to it. But like what's unique about Gracyn's situation is that at a young age, she does have a lot of platforms that she gets experience. And sometimes you can work out those fears at a young age, which is very beneficial.
She
I feel like
honestly never had that fear.
Never showed it really.
Never.
Like that always blew me away. Like when the first couple of times she had an opportunity to sing at church, and it was a bigger stage, you know, for a young kid, and it's like she couldn't wait to get out there and do her thing. And I mean, I had been doing it for a long time, but I was way more reserved when I was younger than she. And so it kind of blew me away, the lack of fear that you had.
And when was that? So was that at a Christmas concert, or when was the first time that you got up and sang with your mom and dad?
I think I sang on an Easter thing, or
That was the first time.
and I think I just had a microphone and I was singing along with it. But
It
then,
was a group of people.
yeah, as the time went on, I sang a couple songs during a church service if they sang.
Yep.
So like as time went on, I gradually sang more and more
Right.
with my
And then
parents.
the Christmas concert, Behold the Wonder, was probably like the first big song that you did with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Behold the Wonder, I think, was the one that you guys posted a video, and
So
I saw that.
That was Go Tell It on the Mountain, and I'm trying to remember whose version that was that we did.
Zach Williams.
Zach Williams. Yeah, he had a
Yeah.
really cool version that had just came out.
Very cool. Yeah.
Okay.
And the three of us, we were trying to find a song for the program. Orion had contacted us
Yep.
and said, hey, is there a song out there that you guys think would be a good song to fit into this program? And we found that one. I think, Katie, you found that. And the three of us just started messing around with it. And
It was a tricky song.
it was a tricky song, but it was
yeah,
fun.
we had so much
A lot of
fun.
Yeah.
energy. And the first practice we had, we knew from the get-go, this is going to be good. This is going to be a lot of fun.
You rose to the occasion, and the funny thing was, it's almost comical when you see the video because she's just this little thing up there. And
This was a couple of years ago, at
God,
least. Yeah.
you sounded a lot younger then, but you were hitting those notes, and it was really fun.
Yeah.
Well, it is cool to watch you sing. I will say this, even in the videos that you guys post with whenever you guys put something out, you're not shy. And that's a good thing, and you don't hold back. And yeah, I think back for like the early times when I would start singing something. I've even joked on this podcast that I've always been a high tenor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so I would get stuck with the parts
Yep.
that I would get stuck with in my family were the high tenor parts.
Yeah.
And especially in the voice cracking years, that was
yeah.
very
Man.
difficult, you
Yeah.
know? And I would start to get people to go, I know you want to sing for a living, so I want to, see what you can. And I'm like, but my part's really hard.
Yeah, seriously, no.
So cut me some slack.
We tell Gracyn too, like, we just had a video that we had done, and we had to find old home movies of stuff growing up. And so there was clips that I found of me singing in high school, where it was just those years I first started singing. I listened to myself. I'm like, man, I was encouraged back then, but I don't know why. Because you're just like, this is rough. And then
You start to go, were they just being nice?
yeah, you're like questioning all these things, like, wow. But yeah,
Did you go through those hard years?
you do.
Yeah.
You truly
Yeah.
do. But encouraging Gracyn, with that said, she's obviously a lot younger than I was in high school at this point in time. She's going into 6th grade now. And when she first started doing this, it was 3rd grade, I think, 3rd or 4th. So,
Well, what's really cool
Early
about
start.
it, Gracyn, is I'm just thinking for myself here. The earlier you start in
Yes.
it, the quicker you find your own voice. Like
the truth.
that you recognize your strengths and your weaknesses, what
Yep.
you can do, what you can't do,
Yep.
and then you also get more comfortable in like when to sing strong, when to hold
Yes.
back, when
it's easier to become an artist. At that
yes,
point.
and yeah. So when you get young like that, and you're getting the help of parents in there as well and singing,
Trying, yep.
it's a fun thing. So okay, let me ask you this, because I mentioned the song "Be Like You." When you guys you sing "Go Tell It on the Mountain." There just happens to be a record label agent. He's like, I want to sign the DeGraffs. But when did you walk off that stage and you think I should start writing songs for the family? Like how, or what was that process?
I'm trying to remember when that started, but you brought that up initially.
I mean, there were people from that Christmas concert that really like affirmed the group, right? The combination of us three together, and we kept hearing to just this beautiful picture of like, we're not a perfect family like any family, right? In fact, when we rehearse, it gets pretty ugly sometimes, right? It's hard. Yeah.
Her face
Gracyn
lit up
knows.
on that one.
Gracyn
Yeah,
knows.
it's like, okay, let's pick the worst time ever to rehearse.
And it's usually late at
and-
night when we're all just super tired, ready for bed.
we're totally a normal family. But like when God, put something like that together, it's an encouragement for other families and like younger kids. It's inspirational for kids to see her up there. And we kept hearing that over and over again when we would go sing at a church, like, oh man, what an encouragement it is to see a young girl up there and have a family up there. And so, yeah, you start thinking, okay, what's God doing here with this? And then what happened was we were leading worship at a church in Lansing. Some good friends of ours invited us to sing there. And the pastor there gave, it was a simple message. I always say it like this, a simple message of why we read God's word. And it was like, we don't read God's word just to be with God. We read God's word so that we can become like him. And it was just this little statement in his message that just stuck out at me, and I wrote it down. And I maybe like a week or two later, I sat down, and I had been in kind of a songwriting rut probably for 3 years. You know, I'm just in the thick of motherhood, and just, it's hard to find that space and time. And then I made myself sit down one afternoon and just kind of look at this lyric idea. And it literally, that song transpired in like a half hour. And it was just one of those moments where, you know, you don't always want to say, oh, God gave me that song. But when I got done and I played it for Curt, I was like, I feel like this is the perfect song for us three to sing together. Like, it was the first song that I had written unintentionally for us three, but it was for us three.
Yeah, it's cool.
And
to further affirm that, like, the three of us, for the first time, the harmonies locked in so quickly.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It was pretty neat.
And so once that happened, it was like, okay, God, I feel like, and then we decided we should record this and put it out there. And then it just felt like, okay, maybe we should be a little bit more serious about calling this a family ministry and try to do more like intentionally right for the three of us.
That's what I was curious about, because I had wondered, and I say this for personal reasons, because here you have projects and things you've put out under your own name.
Yeah.
And did you have thought of going, well, it could be Katie featuring Curt and Gracyn, or, you know what I mean? Or,
and the thought goes through your head, like the Von Trapps, you know, it's like,
Yes.
you don't want to be like cheesy about it either.
No.
okay, sorry.
Well,
Legit concern, right?
Well, and it was like the timing of everything at once. You don't want to over spiritualize things, but you also look for God's confirmation and affirming in things and his leading. And literally around the same time all this is happening, our kids start, and we as a family start loving We the Kingdom and Kane, these family bands, you know, that you're like, oh man, we were drawn to their music, and we went to their concerts, and it was kind of cool to see, like, we're not trying to be them, but it was just naturally evolving for us to do something. Almost
affirmation, like, this is something there's a lane for this.
Like, we have to lean into, and obviously Grayson's young, and so that is challenging to, like, how to navigate these things, and where you don't make it too much, but also be faithful with what you've been given, or try to be faithful. So it is, and we still look at it that way. Like, it's still this evolving thing of this process of, we don't know, like, what it's supposed to be in the end, but we're just trying to live in today and be faithful with what we have today.
Let our kids,
and let God, he will do whatever he wants with it. And
well, I think you've taken a good approach to it, because, you know, you're not recording multiple song projects at a time. You're just kind of doing singles
as we
here and there as you go, because those projects would have multiple songs are much more challenging to really pull together, schedule wise and even writing wise.
Right.
And
let
so
your children be children, and try to cultivate naturally as things happen, you know, growth.
And be like you. It is cool. You know, we're to be imitators of Christ and all that we do, and it's probably it was a good song selection to go with, right, to start things off. And so when did you want to record that right away, or had you sung it a couple times and you thought, did people say, hey, you guys should record this, or how did that process go?
Katie was involved with this Christmas album that she had done. different kind of king.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it was recorded at Moody Bible Institute, downtown Chicago. And Ryan, who was an engineer, feel free to chime in. Ryan McConaughey, great, talented individual. He ended up moving to a house several blocks from our house.
10 blocks from our house.
And so we already knew Ryan from Katie's Christmas album that she had done. And so it just worked out great that we had this individual, very talented, right down the street, and we called him up.
So it was easy, you know, just to kind of pull it together. We didn't have to go too far, and we just enlisted some local talent, some great guys that we've worked with before, and it was the first time. Well, I had more creative overall, the producing aspect of my Christmas album, but that has been the challenge. Is like we're really trying to just resource what we have, and you know, when there's not this huge budget either for these projects, you're just kind of like, okay, Lord, like this is what we have. Help us to make it great with what we have. And
well, most music these days is, we just call them passion projects, because you're not really getting return on investment unless you really hit it and and something monumental happens. But I'll even tell you, and this isn't a discouragement, because we'll have artists in here and they'll go, hey, listen, like we don't pull in any money from music we make anymore. I mean, it's primarily from getting asked to do a concert or whatever it may be. But you still need to put out music. And then for anyone who's a songwriter or a creator, they might say, I'd rather be dead than not creating. I have to put out things, you know. And so that is the challenge, because you go, I have this song and I want to give birth to this song,
give new life,
but then it costs money to do it correctly, and you're weighing all of that, you know, and it's such a challenge these days.
It is, but the beauty of our situation right now is, you know, Curt's working full time, and we can just do this as a ministry. You know, there's no pressure to make an income from this. It really is a passion project. It really is. And if it remains that way, so be it. You know, like you said, when that's in you to create and to write and to make music like that, you have to do it. Or there's like a piece of you that's dead. And so, it sounds dramatic, but it's true.
It really is. So since you said that, you know, I can just share a little bit of my story. You know, when I became a senior pastor of a church, it's really, you would think it would be a similar headspace, but it's actually a very different headspace from a songwriter and from creating in the music sense. And when I put my time into, you know, researching, reading, writing messages and things of that, the creative songwriter side of me kind of wilts. And what I find is when I go on vacation or I step away from it for a while, it starts to spark. It's almost like a literal spark where, because how I always wrote was melodies will start to pop in my head. It's not lyrics first, it's melody. And so when I step away from preaching, like a week will go by, and like that Monday, it'll go, like a melody will pop in my head, and I'll go, what was that? Like
there was room for it.
Yes.
So and it goes. Do you do voice memos on your phone when you get those melodies?
Kurt. We can go down the path.
I was gonna say that's really cool you say that, because the little bit of experience that I have with songwriting, that's my method as well. Like for the Christmas album, I did that one song. And there was a melody that came to me. I was on the walking path, and I'm like, I have this melody. It's sticking. So I went to my phone and recorded it. I got home and I said to Katie, I'm like, this might be nothing, and I don't want to like insert myself too much on this Christmas thing, but like I have this melody and I think something could fit. So I threw some words together, and she helped me put it all together. And in the end, it turned out to something great. But it was just like a melody that just came to me, and I'm like, I recorded it on my phone, and I'm like, I don't know if this is normal or how this works.
Like, what did we do without
what's happening to me?
Exactly.
What's happening?
But it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
And it's just to your point, you know, it's there. And there was several years ago when I was going through some difficult things in ministry, and I hadn't been writing. In fact, it had been many years. I had put it down and thought that was an area that I was just going to put to rest. And and I was like inside just really going through some struggles.
Yeah.
And those and melodies started coming. And I sat down, and it became a healing process of this part of me that went, I'm still here.
Yep.
Yep.
And you neglected me.
Yep.
You know, and songs came out of that. People know that story. But anyway,
No, I
so
love that.
so it's really fun. So let me ask you this question, because now we have the DeGraffs, and you guys are singing and you're doing stuff. And I'm trying to connect the dots in my head. But you had been on staff, or you had been singing in church as worship leaders in some capacity. And at one point, you probably have to make a decision. So are we going to continue to just sing and be a part of maybe a church, or do we move on and do we sing at different churches, or what did that look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started when Katie, I mean, each child, one child at a time. We have 3 kids now, but each child we had, I feel like you took a step back further from the worship leading position.
My hours went down
Hours
with
went
each
down.
kid.
It just naturally
Weekly,
happened,
yeah.
progression. And the church was very gracious and worked with you greatly. And but that's kind of where it started.
And then after Georgie was born in 2018, so 2019 began, and then I just really felt in my spirit that it was time for a new chapter, and we had no idea what that looked like, and
no
it
idea
was
what
scary.
that looks like. It's still very scary.
So I stepped down from my position, and we were still part of the church and trying to navigate. Well, then obviously COVID happened soon after. Well, no, that was a year later.
Yeah.
But
you weren't on staff at the church anymore, but we were still volunteering with the church and other churches.
But we had to kind of and I've explained this to lots of people before, that it's almost like God took the next 2 years and he almost had to strip us back to, okay, our identity, just where's your identity found? It's not in being a worship leader at this church, being known for that. Really, we're going to get back to the heart of worship and how he's created us just to be his and use our gifts just for him. And that could be in the quiet of the home, this isn't on a stage or anything. So, and that can be a painful process, of just getting back to that, And so I would say it took 2 years. And, there was a little bit of writing in there, a little bit, we were leading worship here and there, but then it wasn't until, 2 years ago, maybe, that inspiration started coming for something new. God started to make it clear what that next thing, even though that's not even all clear.
Yeah.
We don't see the bigger picture. We just okay, this is starting to happen, so let's move in this direction.
Yeah, and especially I would think as you have more and more songs that you record and put out as a family, and more, let's just be honest, and rightfully so, we, in the church world, people want to hear and sing worship songs that they know, and that you're usually kind of repeating a lot of things, but when you start writing your own things, you're recording your own things, you have a heart to say, I want to share what the Lord has put on my heart to share in music, and that always becomes a challenge. So Gracyn, I have an interesting question for you. You ready for this?
Yes.
All right, because I found this interesting. When you sing live, right? You hear your voice. Obviously, and it sounds one way. When you first recorded your voice on a song, did it weird you out to hear yourself singing on a recording?
Not entirely, but in some ways, yes. I had never heard my voice in that kind of way.
A studio type.
Professional.
Because we watch church videos, we would play those back sometimes to help us as a group.
Yeah, I was just I wasn't entirely. But
Were you pleasantly surprised, or was it did you have to get over the sound you heard?
Because for a lot of people, it's weird.
I was pleasantly surprised, but I feel like I sounded a little, different.
Yeah. It is.
It is.
A lot of singers, the reason I ask that question is they'll hear themselves, and I've recorded with people who they'll record and they go, that's not me. I didn't do that good. And they're like, no, you sound great. and they're like, that's not me. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
that's your
That
voice.
is you.
Yeah.
That's what you sound like.
You're just hearing it now in a different way than you've ever heard it
Yeah.
before. And it also can be weird. The first real recording that I sang on, I was in a group called North by South, and the first song we recorded was a song called We Are Here. And I heard my voice in this microphone, and I was like basically singing like an opera singer.
Guys,
I was like,
why did you tell me?
yeah, I was like, the stage is. So I go back and listen to it, and I was so like green and unaware of recording studios that I was like trying to be proper.
Right.
And, and I just was not comfortable at all.
Yeah.
And you actually helped me with that, because my first time recording was with, well, I shouldn't say my first time. I had dabbled a little bit in college, but like when I did the album with you back in 2005, it was me. It was very raw.
We were like singing in a closet.
It was
so fun.
And it was very uncomfortable, but like it was such a
Yes.
growing moment in my life, because you hear yourself and you're like, these are the moments where I'm going to stretch my voice and try to do these things. And
yeah, well, you even mentioned your first project, and looking back on it, and I can think of our first projects, and there's a cringe factor a little bit. For me, there's a cringe factor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there is when you mentioned
for
that
sure.
one we're talking about,
Yep.
where you go back and listen and you're like, oh, but it's part of the process.
It is, and it's actually, if you can get over that, like, well, and also realize that at the time people didn't look at it that way, but yeah, if you can get over that, the growth is really cool.
Yeah.
Like to stand back and see, well, look at how far we've come.
And that's where you just trust that God's going to use it and move on. And there's songs that even the first couple that we recorded that you're like, oh, it would have been cool to add this in there, or but like you just
could always
you
go
don't look
back.
back.
Yeah.
You just move forward.
Yeah.
And you learn.
Well, even the cool thing that I was going to say, just the progression of your 3 songs. So we talked about Be Like You.
Yep.
And then, Psalm 33 came next. The most recent one being Let's Put Down Roots. And we could talk about Psalm 33 for sure. But I was going to say even the progression of just the strength of your harmonies in those 3 songs in your recordings,
Sure.
it is you can feel how much more comfortable you guys
you
are.
see the growth
yeah.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's only going to progress.
Yeah.
Right? And especially like what I think of as your friends is with the right producers and the right
Yeah.
surroundings and the different things. I mean, there's a special thing you guys are going to be able to do,
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is I hope that we can continue to work with different people with that kind of stuff, because it's been good to like flex producing muscles and have to like go there when you don't maybe have all the resources at your fingertips, but
And even knowing what's possible when you produce.
yes,
Like, I didn't know that could do that, or we could do that,
Yeah.
or, so you try new things, and it just kind of turns into something like, okay, so next time.
right. But it's just even little things like we didn't do the extra step of mastering with like somebody who is specifically great at mastering the first 2 recordings, and then with Let's Put Down Roots, Ryan McConaughey was like, hey, I know this guy, and he's like, he's got a couple Grammys and like this and that, and he's like, I can just send it over to him, and I'm like, well, yeah, like let's do that extra step. So I mean, it's such a
Well, there's something special about that in that so I did 2 albums that I like self-produced, and I didn't know what I was doing,
Right.
and I did the best that I could, in the sense I shouldn't say I didn't know what I was doing. I'm not a professional,
Right.
And the professionals, they charge real money, and it's
Sure.
it's
Yep.
expensive,
And that's just
it's
it, yeah.
it's but that being said, when you write something or you have something as a family and you're singing whatever, like think about it like this. You want it to be the best that it could possibly be.
Yep.
And that you look back on it and you go, we
can be
put
proud.
our
Yeah.
best foot forward
Yep.
for that, and it deserves that.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely, I was listening to Let's Put Down Roots before you guys came in, and it's just so solid. Like the harmonies and everything in it. I encourage everyone, go check it out. The DeGraffs song Let's Put Down Roots. When did that came out this year?
Yeah,
So when
just
was
recently.
when was that?
yes. Was
Few
it
months ago.
February or March?
Yeah, I say a few months, but it's actually
yeah.
I think actually the official release was
it the fall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fall.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I want to talk about that song. We could talk about Psalm 33. I would ask you where that came from, but I think I know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
Psalm
it's
33.
pretty straightforward. Straight from
Word for
scripture. Yeah.
word for word.
Yeah, which is a fun one too, by the way. It's a good song.
That one drew inspiration from The Greatest Showman, actually.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
What's
energy
that
behind
song called again? I always forget.
the last one where Hugh is running down the street.
All right, I got this. Hold on, guys.
Running down the street.
We're doing. Yes.
From now on. Yeah.
From now
yes.
on, yes.
Yes. That was the inspiration.
So that was totally Curt's idea because
That's awesome.
Yeah. Hell
I
yeah.
would have never
We
put
were
that
going for
together.
We were going for
when
that.
I wrote that song, it was just piano. And
Yeah.
It was more chill. And we needed an idea for a direction on where to take it.
Just naturally had that
And
drive.
then he's like, I feel like it's like the same type of feel as, and I would have never heard that, but it was a great
And it had to do with
starting
hope,
point.
putting hope in something.
Yeah.
And just, running
That's-
after it.
okay.
So, yeah.
That's really cool. So that is always fun when you have an inspiration, a song that gives you the inspiration.
Yeah.
But I did not tie that together on that. I was like,
It's just subtle enough, but yeah.
yeah, good. Threw me off there. So that's really cool. Okay, so let's put down roots. Then where did that come from?
So I wrote that, I believe, in 2015. So that was like a year after Silas was born. And I think as a deep thinking creative person, I struggle a lot with like living in the moment and being okay with like, just internal discontentment a lot, for various reasons. Just because, I don't know, I think there's a lot of visionary in there, but just wanting to do more than I feel like I can do and this and that. Well, obviously when you're a young mom, you're really like in the best of ways, but you're just tied down more. And God, I don't know, this was another song that just came really fast, and I don't really remember much about like the day that one came, but obviously it was set aside for several years. And then when we were kind of deciding what we would record next, I was going through some older songs, and that one came up, and I was like, let's just try this with our 3-part harmony, and it just like locked in right away. And the words were always really a big thing. So
Do you figure out the harmonies, or Grayson, did you figure out your own harmony? Because they said in the car you would figure out your harmonies. How do you do that?
Yeah, normally it just pops in me and I just know the harmony.
it's all her.
Ah, that's
Totally.
really
It
good.
totally is, yeah.
Yeah.
If I can be honest, when we're singing, the three of us, we joke about it sometimes, but we like seamlessly like flip-flop parts a lot. Like if I land on a part, she'll naturally go to the other part. Or sometimes when we're actually in the service and one of us just changes it on a whim, like we'll just quick go to the other part. So she's got an amazing ear for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just comes with time, right? Just and
Yep,
family,
doing
being
it.
comfortable with each
Doing
other,
it.
and
Yeah.
learning each other's tendencies.
Yeah. You naturally fill in where there's a gap.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so when we kind of talked about this, but again, I do want to go back just a little bit on this because Grayson is young. Did you guys have any hesitancy to say maybe we wait a little bit, or should we do this? I mean, here we are on a podcast that a lot of people will see or listen to, whatever, And so did you? What was the whole thing that went into that process of like saying it's time?
I think it was easier knowing that we had this mentality of we're just doing one step at a time.
Yeah.
Because that allows Grayson to be a child and to go through school and just be a normal kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just kind of see where it goes. But from the get-go, we just want to make sure that we are allowing it to be an authentic thing and a thing where she could, we use the word cultivate, but just cultivate her gifts in a way that's like in a healthy way that always points to Christ. And so having conversations at home, so every event that we do, everything that we do as a family, we're allowed to talk through it and talk about it. And right now it's very easy because we have a lot of family time and we have a lot of time to talk through these things and understand why we do it.
Yeah.
And so it
Well,
works.
It's cool. It's a bit of a different life because, I mean, here, obviously, we have you on the podcast here. As of this recording, you're going to be with us tomorrow at New Hope. When it comes out and people are listening, though, yesterday they were with us at New Hope, and then you guys are singing at another church in the coming weekend.
Next weekend,
You're going from place to place, so it is a bit of a different experience.
We're able
I think
to do a Christmas show down in Indianapolis this past year, so we're starting to travel more.
I think that's our hope, is just to. We love our local churches, but gradually we would love to branch out a little bit more. It's a challenge. Like we could hit this a lot harder than we are right now. I mean, you could always do more, but we're trying to be sensitive to our family and also just the normalcy of like, okay, how do we do this, but also have like a semi-normal life, but. But at the same time, you know how the music industry is now too, or just indie artists in general. Like you have to do everything yourself, and it's really challenging. We don't like the marketing thing at all, but you have to do it. Like if you're gonna record music, you have to do it. Or
especially it takes different giftings, right?
It does,
and what we learn across the board is people have different giftings. Some are visionaries, some are planners, some are they want to producers, some want to do the financials, and what you're talking about as an independent, like to truly make it, like you have to become like a master of all of those things. And it's not fun.
It's not fun, and
especially in the thick of life.
Yes.
You just like, as the songwriter or as the artist, you just want to make the music. There's always grunt work to every good thing, but that's the biggest challenge, is like, and that's something, to be honest, we have to daily give to God and just say, okay, this is what we have today, Lord. Help us to do our best with what we have, and lead us and use it for however you want to use it. But it's a challenging arena. If you want to do the best you can do. And also there's always that definition of success before you, like what is success, right? And that's something like, I feel like we daily have to work out.
It's so easy to compare yourself to other people and other things happening, or
like it has to look like this in order for it to be, successful or good.
Well, I think I was listening to a podcast recently with Rick Rubin. You guys know who that is? Yeah. Producer and whatever. He did a lot of well-known stuff, and he basically defined success in the music business as being able to write and record what you love to do, and not even worrying about if anyone likes it. And if you can just do that and put those things out, and then it just happens to be that people love to hear it and love to be part of it. And I really resonate with that, because the couple songs that I recently recorded a couple years ago, I don't promote them much at all. But I did them for my family and for the people who I care about and who I love. They know I did it. In fact, you want to hear a funny story? So Alyssa one day brings some friends into the house, and we had I didn't make CDs. I didn't press copies of CDs, but I had one that I made of my current songs. Okay. And one of our neighbor kids comes in and goes, "What's that?" And Alyssa goes, "Oh, that's my dad. He's a music artist that no one's ever heard of."
The humble pill.
I was like,
"Thanks, honey. Love you."
That's me. That's me. But
I love that.
But she called you music artist.
We'll take it.
The kids are awesome.
Yeah. So when you guys project out, we're not holding your feet to the fire, but like, what is the goal in this? I mean, you have your three songs into the DeGraffs, and what you've put out, and I highly encourage people to go check out the DeGraffs. Like, is there another song in the pipeline? Is it one at a time? What is it? What does it look like, even for what you see this becoming?
Well, we recently, kind of the last thing we focused on after we released Let's Put Down Roots, we made a music video with the help of our friends at Real Video Productions. They're amazing, but they helped us just create this like family environment. I'm hesitant with music videos. You want them to be as authentic as possible, and that can be tricky. But so we tried to create something that would aid to the lyrics and not take away from them. And so if you want to look that up on YouTube, there is a music video for that. But yeah, we're actually just still trying to decide what song is next. Because you want to carefully select and not just like rush into that. So, and summertime has honestly just been so busy. We have been, yeah.
Does it need to be written, or are you looking
I
at
don't know
songs?
yet.
Oh,
We don't
okay.
know yet
There are a
because
couple songs that we could do. You've already talked to Ryan about a couple.
I have
but-
a lot.
Kurt's got melodies on his phone.
Right?
Yeah, come on. He has to show me what he's got brewing here. And that, I think that is a hope, is that we haven't really ever tried sitting down, the three of us, writing together. And honestly, our musical styles, I mean, Gracyn, you're probably still discovering your, like, what music, like, you really gravitate to, because you're young.
Yeah.
Like, but Curt and I have different musical preferences.
Yeah.
Which at times is hilarious as a married couple, like, because we're driving and we make fun of each other's music sometimes.
Okay, can we like dig into this a little bit
mean,
more? Like, what are you listening to?
shoot,
What
I have a wide
weird
variety.
music are you?
Yes.
I've known him longer, saying
Yeah,
like, "What are you
you would-
doing, weirdo? What are you
mean-
listening to?"
I have not listened to, in years, probably for 15 years, I've not listened to Josh Groban. But I decided on the way here I was going to put some Josh Groban on.
All right.
And I had Katie and Gracyn both. Can we not have this on right now?
And not to knock, I mean, he's brilliantly talented. It's not my,
Okay.
I was
But-
in the
choice.
middle of watching My Precious Dr. Quinn.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was
Oh, wow,
watching
you
a
had
TV
to-
show at the time, so that aided in that
Yeah.
conversation.
So,
You're more of a Metallica.
Oh,
Is that
how
what?
did you know? No.
Well, I say Josh Groban, but I am into more like high energy music.
Mostly high
Yeah.
energy.
And where Katie is more,
Singer-songwriter,
Singer-songwriter.
like acoustic.
yeah.
I love any,
and I
like,
can appreciate those, but when I'm driving a vehicle, for example,
Like, he'll fall asleep.
I need energy.
Well, that makes sense in that you are the primary songwriter of the group, and singer-songwriter stuff is very helpful in that it's kind of the more raw version of a song,
Yeah.
and so it can spark more creativity. I
Yeah,
think when you
yeah.
listen to singer-songwriters and give you your own ideas and stuff like that. So,
yeah. Well, and I'm
It
just
is.
a big lyric person, so yeah. That,
yeah. So what's your style? Who are you listening to? Not Dr. Quinn, but
I mean, I really like energized songs.
Yeah, you're like your dad that way.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so.
I do really like the band Kane.
yeah,
Their songs are really fun.
yeah, they're good.
So I normally listen to them.
Yeah,
But if we're listening to the radio or something, yeah, that's the kind
You
of
listen
like,
to a lot
You
of
had for
Shine.
King Country.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We the Kingdom.
We have mainly Shine and K-Love.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
appreciate Christian
So
radio.
these kids listen to a lot of that right now.
Grayson, I need you to look into that camera and ask for King and Country to come on this podcast because
Yeah.
say, would you please come on this podcast? Maybe they'll listen to you.
Yeah.
Can you listen?
Can you
Can you
listen to
listen
Josh?
to me? Will you listen to me and come on the podcast?
Yeah, and tell them that a great movie. We just saw their movie. a couple
Yeah.
Wasn't
months
it
ago.
so good?
It was,
It was
so
so
good.
good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there were tears.
I was going to say,
A lot
how
of
much
tears.
did you cry?
Oh my word.
I
Sarah-
almost cried for. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't cry, but I felt like crying.
You were
for,
moved.
I was like,
It
So
was just one of those movies, unsung hero, where we went to the theater not really knowing what to expect, but we all left very moved.
So Sarah took our middle school group from the church to go see the movie, and she's like, "Hey, will you come with?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll go with," because I wanted to see, and you
Yeah.
know, and so we're sitting there, and the middle school kids are just crushing popcorn, and I'm like, I'm like,
How do you not feel this? Yeah.
yes, and then you realize, like, as adults, you can't watch that movie
Oh,
and
as
not
a parent?
Well, as a parent in general, but
Holy
even
cow.
like
crushing.
even
Yeah.
like their journey and then music too. Like I could kind of tie it to our story and like you do sacrifice. You do. I mean, not a different level, obviously, but like you do relate
Yeah,
for sure, and it tugs at the heartstrings.
very very powerful movie and all that. So, and my kids love For King and Country.
Yeah.
And so
good.
yeah, we got to see them on one of their Christmas shows, and it's
fun.
good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're a lot of fun to have. So, all right, how about this? So, do you guys have website, or like obviously the music is available on Apple Music, Spotify, all
Yep.
the
All the
singles,
streaming.
the DeGraffs, DeGraffs, the DeGraffs,
Yep.
and the 3 songs that are on there. You can also listen to Katie's music.
Yes, please
that's
do.
available
Yeah.
on there, Katie Captine. And I for the longest time spelled that wrong, and it would never pop up. So
that's
Captine
funny.
is
Yeah, Kapteyn.
Yep, that's it. So
All these Dutch names, we can say it.
Yeah.
Dutch.
that's it. So, but yeah, check out the music. And then is it primarily through social media that people can find you, or
Yeah, we don't have a website as of now. I'm working on that. I've been saying that for a year. But Instagram, it's the DeGraffs music. You'll see our picture right away. And then the DeGraffs on Facebook. We do not have Twitter or anything else as of now, but
Yep.
Yeah, and I would say if you Gracyn mentioned Kane, but if you enjoy Kane's music or
Yeah.
whatever, it's
Yeah.
a lot of
Oh, yeah.
lot of similarities there,
Yeah,
and with the harmony and lots of good stuff.
subscribe to us on YouTube. We're trying to build up that page. We'll take all the help we can get.
Yeah,
So
that's cool. Well, thank you guys for
Yeah,
coming
it's
out here
great
and
to
being a
be
part
here.
of
Of
this.
course.
thanks for having us, Josh.
Yes,
Real
it was fun.
fun.
You guys sounded great at church yesterday.
Future slash
Even though the
past.
future, yes, as we look into the past.
Yeah.
All right, but it's gonna be good stuff. So anyway, no, and we wish you guys the best
Thank
with the
you.
music, and really encourage everyone to go and check out
Appreciate
the
that.
DeGraffs and many more good songs that are to come.
Yep.
And praying for you guys in the future, whatever that holds for you, and
you.
Amen.
the God surrounds you with the right people and everything. So any final thoughts or something you'd want to share before we sign off?
Gracyn, you got anything?
Nope.
No.
Just go out and enjoy the day.
Yeah.
Put down roots.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was cheesy.
No, we're excited to be at Nashville. We always
Yeah.
enjoy coming down here. The day ahead, we're gonna spend some time in Franklin and the
Yeah.
surrounding area and just enjoy life. And so that's what we encourage everyone to do, is just make the most of life. And
Well, I always tell people, if
Yeah.
you go to Broadway, just don't get arrested. Okay.
Yes.
Just keep it under
I think we
control.
might be staying clear of Broadway today.
Yeah. That's wisdom right there. That's what that is. So anyway, well, special thanks to the DeGraffs, Curt, Katie, and Gracyn, and wish you guys the best in your music and
Thank
the
you,
things you're
Josh.
doing. If there's churches out there as well, I do encourage you go find them and reach out to them. That I'm sure they'd love to come and
Yes.
sing
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
be a part of your worship time and everything. So seek them out. But anyway, that is episode 58. Thank you so much for listening, and encourage your friends and family to subscribe and follow the podcast, where you get to meet other great artists and pastors, artists like the DeGraffs, pastors that maybe you haven't heard of before, but who you need to know. In fact, my friend Nick Heider has a great line. I'm going to steal it from you, Nick, right now. He goes, we're going to have people on the show that you know and people who you don't know yet.
That's right. That's right.
So
I
anyway,
love that.
now you know the DeGraffs, and go check them out. So all right, everybody, have a great week, and we'll see you next week.